Hello and welcome to this episode of Trash to Track. Now in this episode I'm going to be looking at this Hornby Black 5, the Glasgow Highlander, that belongs to a chap called Mike, who sent it in because he said when he tried to fit a decoder to it, the valve gear all came away from the cylinders, and as you can see there, the slide bars and piston rods are all bent and mangled, and they're actually the same on both sides. So I'll have a look at getting this back to running order. Although inside the model there is also a nasty little surprise, but I'm not sure if Mike did it or whether the previous owner did it. But you'll see in a minute why not only are the mangled side rods causing this model to be a non-runner, but there's other issues as well. The tender's fitted with a magnetic coupling, and that's been screwed through into the body shell, so it's not easily removed. But I'll have a look at that later on. So turning my attention to the loco, to remove the body shell, and I rather stupidly got it off camera here, but there's a screw underneath the smoke box which you undo, and then it unclips from the foot plate. So if you pull it gently it should unclip. There is only one screw holding the body shell on. And there's the decoder that Mike's fitted. Now this black wires here that go to the motor are not clocked at the moment, but this is just sitting here. So I'm going to clip this off, but I've not actually clocked, and you'll see it in a bit. But those wires have already been cut, so the motor isn't actually getting any power. The motor wires have been cut from the DCC socket. So I'm going to remove the side rods, because obviously these need sorting out. So I'll remove the centre crank pin using a 2.5mm hex nut driver. And you also need to unscrew these the motion bracket and that from the side of the die-cast chassis on these Hornby Black 5s. Not all of them are like this, only some of them. And the whole ensemble comes away. Now I'll do the same on the other side. And once that's all been removed, I'm also going to remove the cylinders, because once I either get a replacement or repair these side rods, it's going to be easier to put them on with the cylinders removed. So I put the model then onto a bit of test track, having fitted a DCC blanking plate, and it's still not twigged that the model is not going to run because the wires to the motor have been cut. I'm not sure why. I don't know what the previous owner was thinking or whether Mike did it himself, but somebody had cut those wires to the motor. And if you give you a close-up here, you can see where they were, and I just clipped them off. But it never twigged at the time. And I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because I've worked too many nights. So I'm going to have a look at the gearbox, make sure the idler gear is not split, as that's common on Hornby models, as I'm sure you're aware from watching the channel in the past. So I remove the gearbox cover, then remove the motor mount on the rear. And when I lift the motor up, it's then that it twigs that the wires to the motor have been cut off. I don't know why I didn't see it before. But the idler gear, luckily, apart from being very dirty and thick, horrible brown grease, the idler gear is actually fine. So I'm pleased this isn't suffering from the split gears that Hornby models are known for. So I turn the chassis upside down, and I'm going to remove the base keeper plate, because I can visually see through one of the spokes on the wheels that the pickups on one side are mangled. So this is all going to need to be sorted out. So I remove the 3 screws. Eventually this lifts off, and there are the pickup plates. And somebody has been in here in the past. Now this model's been apart before. You'll see in a moment when I take these pickup brasses out that somebody's been in here and soldered the wire and actually melted where that brass rivet's sticking through. It's melted on the inside with a lot of excess solder. So I'm not the first person to have taken this model apart, but hopefully when I'm finished I will be one of the last. So this is all, the brass pickups are all bent out of shape, so they're going to need reforming. And I'm going to remove the wheel sets. I don't need to take the other side rods off the wheels. I'm going to remove the wheel set as a whole and give this whole chassis, the axles and the wheel treads a good thorough clean up. I'm also going to remove the front pony bogie as well. But this dry cotton bud, just running it along the die cast here, you can see how much dirt. I don't know what that is towards the rear of the chassis, But that was horrible, thick, black, sticky stuff, like black tack that's gone funny. So it all certainly needed a good clean up. So we're using a cotton bud with some contact cleaner sprayed on it. I'm going to clean all the axle runs out, all the chassis, get rid of all the old lubrication, all the fluff and detritus that's accumulated on this model over the years, and give it a thorough clean up, ready for reassembly. And hopefully by the time we've finished, Mike will have a lovely running Black 5. I do like Black 5s, and I like working on, this is an unusual one in the fact that it's named. Not many Black 5s were named. So again, cleaning the axles with a cotton bud and some contact cleaner on it. You can see by the end of the cotton bud just how much dirt is on this model. This is an accumulation of many years of service. I'm not sure how old this model is exactly, but it's in the older style box, so I'd say it dates from the mid-2000s. So you're probably looking at 15 years old plus for this model. And again, the wheel treads and wheel backs were clean. You can see just how nice and shiny they're coming up. And once everything was cleaned, the wheel set was dropped back into the chassis. Now this is one of those annoying chassis with the sprung rear axle. I really don't know if this helps. You know, I don't know what the thinking is behind this, having a sprung rear axle on these models. The Black 5s and A4s, etc. that have this, the ones I have in my collection without the sprung axle run just as well as the ones that do. So all the bearings were lined up. There's bearings on all the wheels, but the ones in the rear sit in that plastic housing. But once all the bearings were lined up, the wheel set was pushed home, and I add a small amount of oil to the axles using a pin dropper, and I also replaced the insulation tape around that resoldered rivet there because the original had absorbed the oil and gone funny. So I replaced that with some fresh insulation, and then, as I said, oil the axles with a Fleischmann pin dropper and some oil. It is important that that piece of insulation tape is on there, because otherwise it can cause a short circuit between the pickups and the chassis, as one side of the chassis is live and picks up and the other side is insulated. So the pickups were put back on and the base keeper plate reapplied. I've cleaned the idler gear up. As you can see there, everything's back in place. Although I will, in a minute, have to take that off again. But I put the idler gear back in, add a small amount of oil to the gear axle because it spins in the metal on the die-cast chassis. So a small amount of oil on that axle, and then I also put some Labelle 106 grease on the idler gear. The motor I'm going to rewire. I'm going to remove these old strands of wire, put some fresh wire on it and wire it up to that DCC socket. I'm not going to put one of the suppressors on it. It's not needed in this day and age with the digital, especially with this model that's going to have a chip fitted to it. So I'm just going to through wire it into the socket, which I've done now, and then battery testing it to the tender drawbar. Spins lovely, but the wheels are not picking up. So I suspect it's that dodgily soldered rivet. So I take them off again, and all I've done is added a blob of solder to that brass part there that makes contact with the rivet, just to give it a bit more surface area, so that when it's put back together and the base plate's reattached, it's making contact with that brass rivet. Now, if it was my model, I'd probably wire it through, but it's not mine, so I'm going to have to repair it to its factory orientation. Once it's done, that base plate's put back on again, making sure that the pickups are in line with the wheel backs, and then I retighten these 3 screws. Obviously, I'd also cleaned and re-straightened the pickups while they'd been off the model. And then giving it a battery test, you can see now that the wheels are now picking up power as they should be. So it was just a case of that rivet that had been soldered by somebody else. It wasn't making contact with the pickup brass. So now I've serviced and repaired the chassis, I'm going to look at these linkages and the slide bars. Now these are slightly bent out of shape, but I'm confident with some gentle manipulation and finger pressure I can straighten these out and hopefully get this model back into running order. You can buy spares for these, but they are quite expensive, So I'm going to try and repair them myself if I can. And that will save Mike the added expense. So I'm just gently bending it, like bend it gently, check it, bend it and check it. You don't want to overdo it because this metal is really thin and can be snapped easily if you bend it too much. These tweezer nose pliers I'm using have got a flat inner surface, so trying to straighten it out isn't going to damage any of the rods. And then I put the piston rod into the slide bars, move that linkage out of the way. It was quite fiddly to do, but I get there in the end, and then I slide the piston rod into the cylinders along with the fixing, the two slide bars fix in, as does that top part. They all slide into the cylinders and it is all held in place. So I'm hoping now we've straightened this out, that when I refit it to the model, it will run. It seems to be nice and loose in there. Seems to be all straight to the eye anyway. So once I've done both sides, both of the piston rods, etc., on both sides of the model have been re-straightened, I screw the cylinders back on, put these slide bars and motion bracket in, although it does keep falling out. It is quite a loose fit in those cylinders. And then I line up the motion bracket part. I can get everything in the correct orientation, that is. It was a pain, it kept falling out. And it was quite difficult to align all three bars into that cylinder. But then once it's in place, the mounting bracket at the top there is put into the square cutout on the chassis, and then the screw is replaced. Now these screws have a plastic rivet on them so that you can't over tighten them. But once that's in place and the screw tightened up, I can rebuild the motion and then do the same on the other side. Now once that's screwed in, the spacer piece is put on the centre crank pin. When I can pick it up, there we go. Spacer piece goes on, followed by the piston rod, and then the motion linkage sits on the usual familiar rectangular cutout of the motion, sits on the rectangular stub of the centre crank pin there. And when I can get it to line up properly, because it kept falling off, once that's in line properly and I'm satisfied it is where it should be, this, the centre crank pin is put back in place and re-tightened with that hex nut driver. And then the same was repeated on the other side, and then we'll give it a test run. So these hex nut drivers, I get mine from Expo Tools, and I've had these quite a while. They are worth their weight in gold for doing this. But that is just tightening up now. Now, for some reason, like I said, I've been working a lot of nights lately, so I must have been tired. But when I go to run the model, I make two mistakes. Firstly, I put it on the test track and the motor does not move. Put the battery on, no, nothing happens whatsoever. And the eagle-eyed of you will notice that I've not put a blanking plate in. So I put a blanking plate in. Now it should have at least a fighting chance of moving, which it does. And then when it goes forward, the side rods on this side lock up. And I was a little bit baffled as to why. And when I had a look, I'd put the spacer in the wrong place. Basically, I'd put the piston rod on, then the spacer, and it should be the other way around. So I undid the crank pin. Luckily enough, I hadn't bent the rods again. Put it back how it should be, and the chassis runs lovely. So that is the locomotive chassis, rebuilt and fully serviced, repaired on Mike's Black 5. So yeah, schoolboy errors on this one. So the only thing I had to do to the actual body shell was give it a bit of a dust over. It was quite dusty. So I just gave it a brush over with the old paintbrush just to remove the dust and fluff off the body shell. Being careful around the nameplates, I didn't want to knock any detail off. This sandpipe here is clinging on for dear life, I think. In fact, when I did run the model at the end on the running session, it just fell off on its own accord. Looking at the tender, the body shell, all that needs is a dusting. It's fitted with real coal. But I had a look underneath and the wheels again were quite dirty, so I put it in the loco cradle. And again with a cotton bud and some contact cleaner. The wheels and the wheel backs were all cleaned and then the pickups were tested. And that is Mike's Black 5 virtually rebuilt. Now, to put the chassis back on the body shell of the main loco, you engage the clip in the firebox area and then gently push it upwards. There is a space in the smoke box for the digital decoder. Now the decoder Mike supplied is DC compatible, as you're probably aware. So here it is running backwards and forwards being bench tested. And it's actually a really nice, smooth, powerful runner, which these Hornby Black 5s tend to be. They are a nice model. They are getting on in age now. I think the first one came out in either 2000, 2001, so they're 25, 26 years old. But for a model of that age, they are looking... they do look really nice and they run superbly, especially if they're well serviced. That rod there is still a little bit bent, but it runs okay. And I didn't want to risk bending it too much and then, having it lock up again. So here's Mike's Black 5 stretching its legs on the layout. If you've got an engine or anything you'd like to see repaired, featured or DCC fitted on the channel, email me at dansmodelrailways@gmail.com. We'll have a look at getting it sent over, and who knows, it may even feature in an episode all of its own. So Mike's Black 5 was fitted with that magnetic coupler, and it just wasn't strong enough to haul any of my stock. I don't have any stock that's got magnetic couplers, so it's chomping around on its own light engine before I box it up and send it back to Mike. Thank you so much for watching Trash to Track again. Please like, share and subscribe. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye for now.